Einstein's theory of general relativity. Einstein's theory of general relativity shows that space, matter, and time came into existence together. Once there was no space, once there was no matter, once there was no time, and it all leapt into existence out of absolutely nothing. Now, Einstein's theory has been proven accurate to 5 decimal points. Now, what are the implications of this? First of all, what is nothing? I think we ought to define that. I think Aristotle had a good definition of nothing. Nothing is what rocks dream about. That's what he said. That's nothing. There was no space, no matter, no time. Nothing spatial, nothing temporal, nothing physical. What are the implications of this? Agnostic astronomer Robert Jastrow, who until February of last year sat in the same chair Edwin Hubble sat in that Hubble sat in back in the 20s, until last year, that's where Jastrow was. He died, unfortunately, at the age of 82 last February, but he sat in that seat that Hubble did. Here's what Jastrow said in his book, God and the Astronomers. And remember, he's an agnostic. He said, the astronomical evidence leads us to a biblical view of the origin of the world. The essential element in the astronomical and biblical accounts of Genesis is the same. Arno Penzias, the guy from Holmdel, who discovered the radiation afterglow, co-discovered it, said this: the best data we have concerning the Big Bang are exactly what I would have predicted had I had nothing to go on but the 5 books of Moses, the Psalms, and the Bible as a whole. Robert Wilson, also working at Holmdel with Penzias and discovering the radiation afterglow, said this, and he was a believer in the steady state theory before this. In other words, that the universe was eternal. He had to give that up after his discovery. He said this: certainly there was something that set it off. I can't think of a better theory of the origin of the universe to match Genesis. George Smoot, the co-discoverer of the great galaxy seeds, said this: there is no doubt that a parallel exists between the Big Bang as an event and the Christian notion of creation from nothing. Now, we're left with a beginner, or a beginning anyway, and we've got 2 choices. Either no one created something out of nothing, or someone created something out of nothing. Now, which view is more reasonable? No one created something out of nothing, or someone created something out of nothing? For me, I don't think nothing can come from nothing. I mean, even Julie Andrews knew that. She said nothing comes from nothing, right? You've got to have a cause to get something. Now, you can ask who made the someone, and if you want to ask who made God, we can do that during the Q&A. But it seems like someone created something out of nothing. Now, by the way, this is not a God of the gaps argument. Why? Because natural law couldn't have created the universe, because natural law was created at the Big Bang. There was no nature. There was no natural law. In effect, it must be a supernatural cause, because all of the natural realm hadn't yet been created. And supernatural simply means beyond the natural. This led Robert Jastrow, again, the agnostic astronomer, to say this: that there are what I or anyone would call supernatural forces at work is now, I think, a scientifically proven fact. Echoing something that Arthur Eddington said many years ago when he said, we run into insuperable difficulties unless, frankly, we look at the supernatural for the beginning of the universe. In fact, Jastrow ended his entire book this way. This is worth the price of the book. After going through much of the surge evidence I just mentioned, Jastrow said this: for the scientist who has lived by his faith in the power of reason, the story ends like a bad dream. He has scaled the mountains of ignorance. He's about to conquer the highest peak. As he pulls himself over the final rock, he's greeted by a band of theologians who've been sitting there for centuries. No doubt reading Genesis 1:1. The best explanation for the beginning of the universe is, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's the C. A lot